Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's event. It's online webinar with from Palm Northern chapter. So this is with CPD points. And then I'm MJ. I'm going to be your host for today's event after it's finished. So, and also for your information, this webinar is also will be broadcast through the live streaming of Facebook. Under Palm Northern chapter page. So, however, for those people that joined the webinar through the Facebook Live, it's not going to be able to claim the CPD points. And then, without further ado, I'm going to invite Puan or Architect Zalina Abdul Aziz for her opening speech from Palm Northern chapter.
All right, thank you, MJ. Very good morning and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sejahtera. Saya ingin mengucapkan selamat datang kepada semua peserta seminar pagi ini. Our fellow architects, respected friend from building industries, ladies and gentlemen, and again a very welcome and very good morning to each and every one of you. Okay, today's topic I think is very interesting: enhancing architecture with state-of-the-art lighting innovation and technology by Signify Group, Signify team. And it's always exciting and happy to see so many friends today attending this webinar. I think it's about 50 over, I think, this morning, even though we have that term concurrently happening in Kuala Lumpur. It is definitely encouragement for PAM Northern chapter to continue to cater to the learning needs of person in the building industry. And as always, PAM Northern chapter is an awareness to enhance and elevate the professional image of the architecture profession and the standard of building industries. We always try our utmost best to continue making efforts to organize more and more lectures in Penang. So normally when we, as an architect, whenever we're dealing with lighting and whatnot, we always push it to our M&E, you know. And for this time, we want everyone to actually have some awareness on how to actually do a better selection and whatnot. So for a LAM member, if you would like to enjoy one CPD point, so do not forget to key in and sign out. They will pop up in your screen accordingly. Otherwise, you will not be, getting the 1 point from there for the CPD line. Once again, PAM Northern chapter would like to take this opportunity to thank our speaker, Mr. Vijay, Mr. Gaurav, and Mr. Gautam, and the team from Signify. Thanks for taking time off from your busy schedule to be with us and share your knowledge with us today. So last but not least, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Casey Chung, the chairman of CPD, to arrange the webinar and make it happen today. And thank to each and every one of you for continuing supporting PAM Northern chapter and for making today's seminar as successful as it is. Yeah, I think that's all, MJ. Macam Michael Jackson, MJ. Okay, thank you so much. And everyone, please enjoy the seminars. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Architect Zalina. So yeah, so before we start this webinar, please bear in mind that for everyone to keep your mute, to mute yourself during the entire webinar to prevent any interruptions during the sessions. And also, before we start the webinar itself, I also would like to extend thank you to PAM Northern chapter as well as the sponsor today, Signify, as a new name of Philips Lighting. It's going to be presenting the topic of enhancing architecture with the state of lighting, innovation, and also the technology. And today's topic is very much relevant to, or also related to the sustainability, and also the lighting can be the starting points of the new circular economy through their process, reduce, reuse, recycle, as well as, Signify is a world leader lighting company with the mission to make people's life brighter, as well as to create a world that with the environment friendly light. and also through their lighting innovation and also technology can be also bring positive impact to the environment as well as to the society. So today we are going to have two speakers, Mr. Vijay Venkatsubramanian and as well as Gaurav is going to be, Gautam Mida is going to be presenting on behalf of Gaurav today. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker, follow with Gautam further. So Mr. Vijay, pass it to you.
Thanks, MJ, and a warm welcome to everyone, and thanks for this opportunity for inviting me as a speaker in this particular forum. I hope I'm audible and very clear. So I'll share my screen now and I'll take you through the presentation deck for today. Yeah. Okay, so first let's touch base a little bit on sustainability before getting into the lighting innovations, what we wanted to showcase to you. So the first, I will take approximately 45 to 50 minutes to complete this slides and take you through the world of sustainability and the world of innovation when it comes to lighting. Yeah. So let's take you through sustainability first. So why sustainability is very important. If you start searching for the word sustainability, there's a lot of buzz around this word sustainability around the world. The companies which are like manufacturers or suppliers or talking about any walk of business people are coming from, they're all very keen in embracing the term sustainability. And they wanted to incorporate a lot of sustainable practices within their particular firms. And Signify is no different. Signify being a leader in lighting, we wanted to be pioneers. So we embraced the concept of sustainability almost like 3 or 5 years back. And we achieved our carbon neutrality in the year 2020, September. Yeah, so that's a very proud announcement that we made to the world that all our operations are carbon neutral from the year 2020. So these are all some of the words that you normally hear nowadays, like carbon neutrality, investing on renewable energy, practicing sustainable practices within the companies, and also managing the waste to landfill. Yeah, and can it be a zero waste to landfill? So all of these targets our company has achieved. It's a very proud announcement that I want to make before starting this presentation. And according to all the world, say parameters or what we call as analytics that goes on sustainability, our company has stood number 1 when it comes to sustainability indexes and the sustainability practices that we follow within our company. So we also invest on renewable energy sources, and we also try to make our operations 100% carbon neutral, make it much more sustainable for the years to come. And also we invest on very specific technologies like solar-based lighting technologies in order to improve the carbon neutrality and also to have something like off-grid systems instead of just taking the power from a system which is actually contributing towards carbon footprint. Yeah. So we also have innovations which we will see in the upcoming slides, which can reduce the carbon footprint to a level of maximum up to 75%. Yeah. So, and again, our waste to landfill, it is zero within Signify, and we also ensure that we share these sustainable practices with the group of project ecosystem in order to ensure that they also practice these sustainable practices and get the benefit out of it. Yeah. So let's go to the topic for today. After seeing a bit of brief of sustainability, we're going to see lighting innovations. So we're going to cover 5 lighting innovations. I'll try to spend 10 minutes each or like 8 minutes each on each innovation. Give you a brief about what is the current trend in lighting and what are the innovative lighting solutions we are coming out with. And it is already launched in the market. So we can certainly contact our Signify colleagues in order to get even better understanding of these solutions. Yeah, after this webinar. So now the first one is Nature Connect. Nature Connect is more towards well-being. So if you see the current well-being norms which are being published or even like, being introduced in every country, there's a heavy emphasis on employee well-being and health and well-being. And not only on lighting part, but also on water and air. And lighting has been given equal number of green points when compared to water and air as well. So that means light is as important as water and air. So if you're trying to improve the indoor air quality, you also try to gain additional points from that. You can also invest on lighting because lighting also plays a major role on health and well-being. We'll see those science behind light, how light influences the health and well-being in the upcoming slides. We also touch base on 3D printed technology, so which is a very new technology, and this is going to be a revolution in the lighting industry very soon. with this particular technology because it reduces carbon footprint by around 76% for production, yeah, and almost close to 28% for transportation. And it reduces the overall carbon footprint for even production and transportation drastically by close to up to 90%. So, and hence this becomes an upcoming technology that most of the lighting manufacturers would deploy and would practice from the years to come. UVC has been existing for the last 70 years. Because of the current pandemic, it is even more emphasized, and it is light taking another avatar, yeah, and it's like the light taking an avatar of disinfecting a space, yeah. So we can use light to disinfect. So how do we use light to disinfect? What kind of radiations that we use? Is it safe for human beings? All of this we will cover it in the upcoming slide. We also touch base upon a very important concept of lighting called visual comfort, using these large luminous light surfaces we will see in the upcoming slides, and also bring in a concept called biophilia, because biophilia is something that improves the health and well-being. So it's a topic which is based on health and well-being, what innovations that we can offer for your clients that makes their employees much more productive, much more energetic within spaces, and they feel like they are connecting with an external atmosphere, though they are working indoors. So we'll see those topics in the upcoming slides. So these are the 5 innovations that we will present today, yeah, followed by my colleague who will present on intelligent buildings and smart building technologies. So the first thing is Nature Connect. Nature Connect is directly contributing towards the well-being of people. So this is how exactly it looks like, and we will see what is the science behind it, how it improves our health and well-being. So we are, unfortunately, we are an indoor generation. I call it because of the fact that 90% of the time that we spend is all in indoor closed atmospheres. We don't have a privilege of getting ourselves exposed to natural sunlight. Yeah, our forefathers did. Our forefathers had this privilege of getting themselves exposed to natural sunlight quite often. But being almost close to 90% of the time, or 90% time we spend indoors, we don't have this exposure to natural sunlight. What is it in natural sunlight that gives us a bit of an edge on health and well-being? We'll see that in the upcoming slides. So architects like you, who basically try to bring in the natural sunlight to indoor atmospheres, so in the form of what we call a skylight. Yeah, so skylight is a very important feature in architectural design, where we try to bring in a lot of sunlight into indoor spaces. It makes the space look much more huge, wide. At the same time, it gives a beautiful perception of a particular space. At the same time, it improves the health and well-being of people, yeah, within the space. We feel like we are connected to an external environment, though we are spending 90% of the time indoor, yeah. So, but not all projects can have this privilege of having an open ceiling or an open wall, which has got a direct view towards an external atmosphere, or even try to bring in the natural sunlight indoors. So that is not possible, yeah. So hence we have launched a light fixture which exactly behaves like a natural sun, yeah, and brings in all the good benefits of natural sunlight. So what does natural sunlight do to us? It improves our mood, it improves the positivity in us, it improves our energy levels, it improves the comfort levels, it improves our productivity, it improves the quality of sleep. Yeah, it's very important that we sleep better so that the next day we are quite active and productive. Overall, our health and well-being improves drastically when we get exposed to a natural sunlight. Yeah. So the day I go for jogging, I get myself completely energized with the natural sunlight, my productivity level is completely different. The day I'm not able to go for a jog or a walk, my productivity level basically drops. So that means there's something in the sunlight that helps me to stay productive. Yeah. What is it in the sunlight? We will see in the next slide. So sunlight has got what we call as light spectrum. Yeah. So in the morning, the sunlight has got a light spectrum of what we call as 3000 Kelvin, which is like closer to the terminology of color temperature, as we call it in lighting. By mid-noon, the color temperature changes from 3000 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin, which is called as the bluish white spectrum. And by evening, it becomes even more a warm white light, which is called as 2700 Kelvin spectrum, yeah, or even lesser. So this has got a direct influence on human health, and there are very specific hormones that get generated when we get exposed to these spectrum of light. So whenever we get exposed to a mid-noon sunlight, which is like the bluish spectrum of sunlight, a hormone that gets generated in our body by a gland called adrenal gland. These adrenal glands are located on top of our kidneys, yeah, and they generate this hormone called as cortisol. When we get exposed to this bluish whitish spectrum, we get a hormone called cortisol, which is generated by this adrenal gland. And that particular cortisol hormone, it gives us what we call as an energetic feeling. It gives us a very high metabolism so that we basically have a very active lifestyle. And it also controls our blood sugar and blood pressure. Very important as we age. These are all some of the common ailments that we go to a doctor for, which is like blood sugar, which is diabetes, and then a blood pressure, hypertension, as we call it. So these are the terms that normally we see as we age. So if we get a good dose of natural sunlight around this 12 noon time, starting from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, we can come over all these basic ailments that we normally go through. Yeah, but unfortunately, we are an indoor generation. We have to report to our office. We have to work within indoor closed walls. We don't have an exposure towards this particular spectrum of light, which is available for free in nature. Yeah, we are not able to make use of it. So and hence, we are dependent upon what we call as an artificial source of light that behaves like a natural sunlight. Yeah. So by evening time or even early morning time, when we get exposed to this color temperature of light, which is the warm white light, we generate another hormone in the body which suppresses cortisol, and it becomes a dominant hormone. It mixes with the bloodstream and it produces what we call as a cell repair. Yeah. So whatever damage that we have done to our cells during the day, all of it gets repaired by night. Yeah. So for example, if you get a small wound or a cut in your hand by doing some kind of an activity, by overnight it heals. The next day morning you see that skin is already closing and it is forming. Yeah, it is all because of this hormone called melatonin. Yeah, if you have good amount of melatonin hormone getting generated in your body, you get very deep sleep. In the process, all your ailments can be cured. Yeah, so that's a science which has been already proven. For the last 11 years, this experiment has already gone in, and the scientists who discovered this have been given Nobel Prize. Yeah, and Signify embraced this particular technology and brought in solutions in order to improve the health and well-being of people who are like working under the particular light. Yeah, so artificial light can also do the same. You can see that the artificial light can also behave like a natural sunlight because it can change the color temperature and also it can change the lighting level. Yeah, so we brought in this concept called as Nature Connect, which basically mimics the natural sunlight and also mimics the blue sky. Yeah, so blue sky is very important phenomenon. We call this as blue infinity. If you look through this light fixture, you feel that as though there is no end to it. It looks like it's a hollow space, never ending space. Yeah, so that's what we call as blue infinity, which is very important for our health and well-being. We need to get connected to this particular natural phenomenon of infinite view in order to improve our health and well-being. It's like looking from top of a mountain, or even like looking into an ocean where there is absolutely, you don't see any horizons, or like there's no end to it. Yeah, so this view is also very important. So the light fixture will behave like a blue sky. It will also behave like a natural sun, and also it will also bring in all the colors of nature into your working environment. Yeah, so the system looks like this. You can see that there is a daylight component, there's a skylight component, and a lightscape component. The lightscape component is the one that actually brings in the colors of nature, and the blue light component is the one actually that behaves like a blue sky, and the daylight component is the one that behaves like natural sun. Yeah, so different settings can happen in different parts of the day. When people are spending more time indoors, they get to feel that they are spending time outdoors because of this particular phenomenon. You can see that the mode from morning 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. will be the bluish spectrum of light, which is like the 12 noon sunlight. And then by evening, it will turn towards a relaxation mode, generating what we call as melatonin in our body, which is suppressing cortisol. We feel more relaxed. And if you want to overrule this by touch of a button, you can overrule this and come back to your modes of presentation or anything that you wanted to achieve. So this is the control mechanism. You can have it even in your smartphones, or you can have it in the form of switch like this, where you can see that by click of this energize button, I get that 12 noon radiation of sunlight. By clicking the relax button, I'll be getting the evening sunlight into my indoor spaces. Yeah. So it need not be applied always in office environments. It can be applied in hospital environment. It can be deployed in schools. And what we have seen when we have deployed that in schools, the error the children that committing are reduced by 55%, and the learning curve goes by around 30%. Our research shows that very clearly. And the patient recovery in a hospital is much faster, and patients are able to recover at a rate of almost like half the rate. For example, say if it takes 10 days for a patient to recover from an ailment, immediately within 5 days, the patient is recovering from the ailment. Yeah, because of this particular system being deployed there, which actually behaves like a natural sun. and hence rightfully we named it as Nature Connect. It's actually connecting with nature. Yeah. So you can also have modules of sunlight wherever daylight cannot penetrate. You can get this skylight module and incorporate it on the ceiling. It can give you exactly how a natural beam of sunlight is entering a particular space. It actually mimics the natural sunlight. Wherever daylight cannot penetrate, you can use these modules. A very interesting concept when it comes to lighting, and it exactly behaves like a blue sky. If you look into it, it looks like yeah. So that's on the Nature Connect side. So that was a very short presentation on Nature Connect, but a lot of detail can be covered. So if you are very keen, interested, please feel free to contact our colleagues in Malaysia. They can certainly support you with further information on this particular solution. Yeah. Now we go to the second topic for today, which is called 3D printed light fixtures, which directly contributes towards sustainability. Let's look into this. So it's a new technology of production and manufacturing. Yeah. So which is a digital way of printing a light fixture. So you might certainly be aware about 3D print technology, because it is actually taking over all the conventional methodologies of production and manufacturing. Yeah. So for example, 3D printed products are fully recyclable, meaning that it's made of 100% virgin polycarbonate, and you can recycle it any number of times we want, and we can actually bring in a new light fixture anytime we want. The solution becomes digital, meaning that we give a lot of design freedom for architects to design any kind of a light fixture of their own choice. What do you mean by of their own choice? We'll see that in the next slide. You can see that the machine is actually printing a light fixture, and you can have your own size, which if you feel that you need a particular dimension of the light fixture, let us know, we can manufacture it for you. If you want a particular shape to be designed, you just give us a hand sketch or a 3D model, then we can design it for you. A specific color, a texture, a specific transparency or translucency or opaqueness, we can design it for you. And also, since we are experts in lighting, we can also specifically come out with a particular light recipe for you. For example, you're designing a retail store or a coffee shop, you wanted to have a pendant which is like with a particular story theme or a storyline or a storyboard, we can design it the same way as per your concept. Yeah. For example, recently we did one for Ferrero Rocher, and you know that it's a very delicious chocolate, and we even came out with a light fixture which looks like the Ferrero Rocher chocolates. Yeah. And it's like a pendant light fixture with even Ferrero Rocher printed as a imprint onto the light fixture. It looks like as though the chocolate is hanging from the ceiling, but actually it produces light. Yeah. So these kind of very innovative stuff is possible with 3D printed technology. So we also give you the choice to choose different materials and shape and size from our website. So this is a very simple design tool. You click on the light fixture, shape, size, what you need. You can even design your light fixture using our own website. Yeah. So what I mentioned is the color, the texture, the shape, the size, the dimensions, and also the light, what kind of light you want. You want a warm white light, you want to have a cool white light, you wanted to basically have a different spectrum of light, a specific color of light, all of it possible with 3D printed technology. Yeah, it gives a lot of design freedom for architects. And you can see that this pendant has been designed with the help of what you call an architect who had an ambition of or mission of having a red finish. And this red finish, you can see it is all striated. So he wanted to have a striation texture. And also he wanted to have a translucent appearance onto the particular red. So hence we made the translucency as well. Also, he wanted to bring in another layer of texture in the inner surface of this pendant. You can see that how beautifully we have got an art incorporated in the light fixture itself. Yeah. So these things are possible with 3D printed technology, but conventional way of producing this will be very, very time consuming, very expensive, and it's even not even feasible. Whereas in 3D printed digital technology, it is possible. Yeah. So on the sustainability side, what it does, it reduces your carbon footprint by around 76% on manufacturing and material supply. It reduces transportation carbon footprint by 28% because all those products that are getting manufactured using this particular technology, it becomes absolutely less weight, and the packaging is so compact that you can load more within a truck, so that the truck doesn't cause that contribution towards the carbon footprint. So your carbon footprint reduces by 28%, and overall you can see that it contributes towards what we call as recyclability. And after the end of life, the fixture can be brought back to our production facilities, or completely can be melted down, and we can make a new product for you, contributing towards what we call as recyclability or circular economy. Yeah. And end of life carbon footprint is reduced to 27% when compared to a conventional way of manufacturing of a light fixture. So total, we can see that we can reduce it by 75% the carbon footprint, and it is 100% designed for circular economy base of concepts, yeah, within a project. So you can feel free to approach my colleagues in Malaysia, where they can support you with design of these light fixtures. At the same time, they can also give you the lead times, because lead times are very, very fast in this kind of light fixtures. It just only takes 4 to 6 weeks to produce a light fixture, even to a total quantity of more than like 1,000 numbers. Yeah. So that's the speed at which we can manufacture these light fixtures. Yeah. So feel free to approach for more information. Yeah. So now we go to the third topic for today. It is UVC disinfection. So it's a very relevant topic for a current pandemic scenario. And since all the restrictions are getting lifted, of course, we sigh like, a relief, yeah, by saying that, wow, you know what, we have all the freedom now to go out, mingle, and also, meet our colleagues whom we have not even interacted for the last 2 years. All of it is very good, but we also have to be very aware not to lose our guard on new variants which are coming. At the same time, there are even persistent endemic and epidemic situations in some countries in the form of what we call as tuberculosis. Apart from SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, we have such infections even still running. And the latest one is monkeypox as well. So we need to be extremely careful on such airborne infections, or what we call as infections that actually spread through the air medium. Yeah. So predominantly, most of the infections that we see in the world are spreading through the air medium, though surface is also a contributor, but the surface-based infection or spread is just only 1% when compared to an airborne infection. Yeah. So the airborne infection rate at which it happens is also very, very high. For example, in a space, a closed atmosphere, where we have a large population of people using a smaller space, that is where a super spread event can happen. Yeah. So one person spreads it to 50 people around him. Yeah, him or her. So that's very, very important to note, that still disinfection technologies has to be certainly considered within a particular space, because it's not, the fight is not yet over. So we have to be extremely careful not to lose our guard because of the variants which are coming. At the same time, very dangerous diseases like even airborne infections like tuberculosis are still around. So we need to safeguard ourselves from this. So let's understand a bit of basics of UVC disinfection. So here light takes another avatar, as I told you. So first we saw health and well-being, how light can contribute, but here we are talking about disinfection. So this is the electromagnetic spectrum of light, which starts from a visible spectrum, which is 380 to 780 nanometers, which is what we call as lux levels. It is contributing towards visible light. Yeah. So this visible light spectrum starts from 380 nanometers to 780 nanometers, beyond which we have the infrared radiation. Yeah. And infrared radiation is basically used for data transfer. Very simple example is your television remote that you're using in your house to change your channels. Yeah. So you can see the data is actually carried by this infrared radiation, and this infrared radiation hits the receiving point in your television, and hence you're able to instruct the television what you want to watch or see, reduce the volume, increase the volume. All of it is possible with this infrared radiation. And this infrared radiation, apart from being a data carrier, it can also serve as a medical, in the medical application. It relieves muscles from strain and stress. If you see that sports people, they use this infrared radiation for their muscle relief or muscle pull that they basically have. And if you go lower spectrum, this particular wavelength, which is starting from 100 to 380 nanometers, is what we call as UV radiation. Yeah. So UV is ultraviolet, as it's abbreviated as UV. And this UV radiation is categorized into 3 categories: UVA, UVB, and UVC. Yeah. And UVC radiation has got a very special effect, which we call as germicidal effectiveness. Yeah. So germicidal, the term germ means pathogen, microorganism that is causing a disease. Yeah. Cidal means death. Yeah. So cide means death. Yeah. So germicidal means a technology which is used to kill or exterminate or irradiate a particular germ or a pathogen. Yeah. So that's why we say it is germicidal effectiveness is quite high in UVC radiation. And UVB and UVA radiations are certainly used in medical applications. Yeah. Just to give you an example, whenever there's a newborn baby, the baby suffers from what we call as neonatal jaundice. Yeah. So the first few days of its birth, it suffers from this disease called neonatal jaundice, and the doctor advises for a phototherapy, or some very experienced old doctors, they always tell the parents to expose the child to sunlight. Yeah, as simple as that. So sunlight has abundance of UVA and UVB radiation. So when these radiations enter the human body, it removes what we call as the bilirubin, which is actually causing the jaundice in a newborn child, and the child recovers within like a few days of exposure to natural sunlight. Yeah. So this is a magic what this UVA and UVB radiation does. And also UVA and UVB radiations are used in applications of medical science, where it is towards treatment of skin infections and skin diseases. Whereas UVC is not that known or famous around the world. Just because of the current pandemic, there's a big demand. It became extremely famous around the world. But there's a lot of proof points around this UVC for the last 70 years. It's not a new technology that just sprouted in 2020, but it has been there in the industry till 1930s. Yeah, and it is able to irradiate any kind of a bacteria or virus or fungus within a particular space. Yeah. So let's see a bit of how UVC helps to irradiate a virus or a bacteria or fungus. It is not specific to a virus. It can certainly do the magic on a bacteria. It can also irradiate a fungus or an algae or a protozoa, whichever is actually causing a human disease or an infection. Yeah. So imagine that this is a virus and it is getting exposed to UVC radiation. This UVC radiation has got a very specific wavelength, which is called 253.7 nanometers, which has got the maximum germicidal effectiveness. When this falls on a virus or a bacteria, it penetrates deep into the membrane of this bacteria and virus or fungus. It reaches the DNA and the RNA strands, and it breaks them in the process what we call as photolysis. Yeah, we all know photo means light, lysis means split. Yeah, so it splits the DNA into two halves or many halves. Yeah, many pieces. Hence, this bacteria or virus cannot reproduce anymore. Yeah, in the process, they meet their end, they get irradiated. So this is exactly how UVC works, but it's very important to understand that we are also an organism. Yeah, so we are very similar to bacteria, virus, and fungus as humans. Yeah, so we need to also protect ourselves from UVC radiation, because UVC radiation is also harmful for human beings. Hence, the manufacturers who are manufacturing UVC products have to be certified by various councils around the world, even before they launch a particular product, to be tested upon any kind of a UVC leakage, or even the technology itself should prevent any UVC leakage from the products itself. Yeah. So, and again, being a pioneer in this particular field, we have collected so much of data on what is the dosage that is required to exterminate a bacteria or a virus or a fungus. So this data is also available with us, and it is already available in our website. So if you go to our website, just type UVC, you will see this data for various bacteria and viruses and fungus. Just to give you a bit of an insight, virus needs a higher dose when compared to bacteria, and among the virus, tuberculosis virus is very, very strong when compared to SARS-CoV-2 virus. Yeah, it needs even a very high dosage when compared to SARS-CoV-2 virus. SARS-CoV-2 virus is comparatively a weaker virus when compared to tuberculosis, and it is actually you have to use something called as 15 joules per meter square, which to exterminate or irradiate a virus, which is SARS-CoV-2 virus, whereas you need more than 30 times of the dosage for a tuberculosis virus. You can see this data is available with us, and we have the knowledge to design your space for a particular dosage and how much time does it take to irradiate a virus or bacteria. So feel free to approach my colleagues if you are still interested to learn more, or even if you have a project that you want to implement this UVC based disinfection. Yeah. So just to make you understand how does an infection spread within a space, I'll just go to a very specific slide that explains it much better. So imagine that there's a group of people within a space. One of them is infected, and this person is coughing, sneezing, talking, singing, breathing. Yeah, all of this activity emits these droplets, and droplets are of two categories. The first droplet is first set of droplets when somebody sneezes is a heavier droplet, and these heavier droplets are pulled by the gravity, and these droplets basically fall on surfaces, and those surfaces have to be disinfected. Yeah, using chemical based disinfection or using even UVC based disinfection, it can be disinfected. But the contribution of a spread normally doesn't happen through surfaces. It's only 1%. whereas 99% the infection is spreading through the air. That comes the second droplet, which is called as a lighter droplet. And these droplets are major droplets, meaning that if a person is sneezing, if you consider that droplets are 100%, out of which 90% of the droplets are lighter droplets, and these droplets move up to the ceiling and they settle down onto the upper part of the ceiling. Yeah, and when that particular person who has infected the space is still there in the space, or even after leaving the space, you can see these droplets can stay in the upper part of the room for almost 3 hours or even 4 hours. Due to natural convection or by even like artificial method of HVAC, the air conditioning systems, these droplets come down. And when an uninfected person is breathing in these droplets, that particular person gets infected. Yeah, this is exactly how an infection spreads within a space. By using these kind of devices, UVC devices, which are called upper air devices, they generate a very narrow spectrum or a narrow beam of UVC radiation only on the upper part of the room, so that to exterminate or irradiate the virus which is there on the upper part of the room. So people who are like, using the space which are like below 2.1 meters are absolutely safe. So the humans are safe, but the virus are in danger. Yeah. So that's exactly how the system works. And we have quite a lot of safety certifications. Also, proof of effectiveness has been done on a lab on how much time does it take to irradiate. It just takes less than 10 minutes to irradiate a large volume of space, where even a large population of people are actually using it, where there's a good possibility of a super spread event. So you can see that it's not a new technology. It has been used in schools in 1930 in Colorado in order to curtail the spread of measles. Yeah, so measles was spreading quite heavily in Colorado in USA, and they deployed this system in 1930s. So it's not a new technology, but it's a very proven technology to irradiate any kind of a pathogen. Yeah. And if you see that it has been used in schools now in 2021 in order to curtail the spread of the virus, which is SARS-CoV-2. And it can be deployed in hospitals. And there has been hospitals which have installed this 10 years back, even before the pandemic. And they feel that there is not even a single hospital acquired infection after these devices have been installed. It protects the doctor, it protects the staff, it also protects the visitors, and it also protects the other patients who are not infected within the particular space. So there's a lot of say applications within hospital environments to use these kind of devices, which are called upper air UVC devices. Now it can be deployed in restaurants as well, because restaurant is a place where we remove our mask. So it's there's a good possibility that people can get infected within the space. So by using these kind of upper air devices, UVC devices within F&B, food and beverage spaces, can curtail the spread of the virus or bacteria. You can see that it can be deployed in even in food courts. Food courts are like within the malls or within a particular complex. If you have a food court, it becomes an ideal application to deploy UVC solutions. Also on spa, beauty parlors, salons, that's where you have a large number of people occupying a smaller space. Entertainment spaces like cinema halls, these are all the spaces where we can certainly look into deploying upper air devices. Yeah. Apart, if your ceiling is not conducive, you can actually go for a system which is like a very simple plug and play system, which is called as portable devices or portable UVC disinfection units. So you would have seen the video in the beginning of the presentation. It was very well crafted video, which shows that there are 3 levels of purification and disinfection that basically happens. So there is a HEPA filter, which actually does the purification part of the air. There's a carbon filter which removes the odor and also the harmful gases which are there a part of the air. And then there is another layer, which is a very important layer that disinfects the air. Yeah, most of the air purifiers only do the first 2 part. It removes or what we call as purification part of it is done, and what we call as deodorization is done. But disinfection, there is nobody who's offering it. But if this is something very unique, you can certainly deploy it to ensure that there is no virus or bacteria or fungus in the particular air, so that air becomes absolutely pure for us to breathe. Yeah, it can be deployed in many applications, including offices, hospitality, retail, schools, banking, industry, including vaccination centers. As you can see that the HEPA filter removes 99.97% of particles, and the UVC, which is there inside this as another layer, basically removes 99.99%, which we call as log 4 reduction. Yeah. So if you just take a hand sanitizer bottle and read the label on that, it says that 99% effectiveness, meaning that it's called log 2 reduction. If you have 100 bacteria or virus in the hand, after the application of the hand sanitizer, it is reduced by 99%. So that's what it says. In the case of healthy air, we can even promise up to a level greater than 99.99%, which is called log 4 reduction, yeah, of virus or bacteria. The total population is reduced by 99.99% within a particular space by using these devices. Apart from that, you can also deploy the bare UVC lamps inside air duct units. So though it is something what M&E consultants take care of it, but also it is good for the architects to know that such technology also exists. So inside the air conditioning units, either you wanted to disinfect or remove all the fungus from the cooling coil, or even to purify the air that is passing through this system, you can actually use UVC based lamps to disinfect that. So this is a very broad topic. Since in levy of time, I'm only covering it to give you a bit of an exposure, but feel free to approach my colleagues. They can support you even further with further information and details. Yeah. So the last topic for today that we're going to see is about visual comfort and biophilia. And we will see some very beautiful examples, which normally architects like it because it actually enhances the beauty of a particular space. It has got a lot of aesthetic appeal. So let's see what is this large luminous surface first. So large luminous surfaces are, as the name indicates, it's a very large area of a light surface, very homogeneously lighted up. So there's a beautiful effect of homogeneous lighting on the particular surface. And these can be used for spaces with a particular issue of glare. Yeah. So glare is a very disturbing effect that basically happens into indoor working atmospheres. You can see that when people are working in this particular room, the surface of the table, and you can see the shiny surfaces which are there onto the finishes of the walls and ceiling, may all get illuminated with a very high level of light. Yeah. And that causes either a direct glare to the human eye, or it also causes what we call as indirect glare. Yeah. So in order to avoid that, we can deploy something like a large luminous surface. A very typical way of designing a meeting room is like using downlights all across. Yeah, we just use spotlights, downlight all across the table in the form of a periphery of the table or periphery of the furniture which is there. And that's a very conventional way of designing, which is quite glary, because if you see, if you're having video conferencing, or even if the colleagues who are sitting on the opposite side will always feel the glare coming from the light fixtures, and the presentation or the subject becomes absolutely, it's a big distraction. Yeah. In order to avoid that, you can have such large luminous surfaces, which will give you homogeneous uniformity of almost close to 0.9 uniformity within a particular space, and it enhances what we call as visual comfort. Yeah. And you can see that such a room which is illuminated with glossy surfaces, you will not see the spots of light because it's all getting nullified by this large luminous surface. So if you want to look for a glare-free solution, you can go for this. And this is made of fabric. It is not made of any plastic. It's made of fabric, so that you have a very good dispersion of light, and hence there's a big improvement in uniformity. And most importantly, this can be dimmed to the preferred level of lighting. So if you do not want to dim it and keep it at a higher lighting level, you may get somewhere close to 800 lux or even up to 1000 lux. You can reduce the lighting level to 500 lux or even 300 lux or even lower than that. Yeah. So it's all possible with our lighting control system with this particular panel. So if you go to any store, Apple store around the world, you will see Apple stores around the world are done with these kind of large luminous surfaces, because Apple are very particular about their user experience or the shopper's experience. So they do not want people to kind of get blinded or distracted by light, and hence they use these kind of large luminous surfaces within the spaces. Yeah. So you can see that how it can be deployed. This is an illustration of a particular room, and this is an actual practical example of that room where there's absolutely no glare or no reflection. You can see that with light that is passing. And you can also deploy that in retail atmospheres. In retail atmospheres, I gave you an example of Apple, but also if you see stores like Berkshire around the world, they have deployed this kind of large luminous surface across the spaces. What you get is homogeneous light, and also you get a very good shopping experience for people, because they are not distracted by these kind of spotlights which cause them direct glare. Yeah. It can be deployed in common areas or public areas. It looks like a light well, but actually it's an artificial source of light. So it actually enhances the beauty of a particular space. You can also have what we call as tunable white. Tunable white is more towards changing color temperatures. And also you can create patterns of light on the ceiling with these kind of panels. Yeah. So this is a car showroom. Yeah. In a car showroom, they create these patterns of light on the ceiling, so they to enhance the beauty of their particular cars. Yeah. and the merchandise that they are basically displaying. So these kind of things can certainly help you to achieve what we call as customer experience or user experience, or even like client experience. Yeah, so these things can be done. So there were architects who were always telling us, hey, can you make these panels emit colorful light instead of just having a monochromatic white light? And hence came a second family of product called luminous textile panels. Yeah, so these luminous textile panels, as you can see here on my screen, they are like a video screen. Yeah, but it's a low resolution video screen. We wanted to be very sure that the visual comfort part is very well promised or committed, and hence we made it on purpose a bit of a low resolution so that it doesn't feel glary. If you see an LED screen in some spaces are very glary, though they show beautiful, amazing videos, but people try to avoid that because it's a big distraction. It actually, the amount of light that is entering the human eye is so high that it causes what we call as discomfort glare or a direct glare. Yeah. So we made these panels are made of fabric, and these fabrics are light dispersing medium, and it's like a backlit panel. And through the backlited RGB LEDs, we are able to create what we call as a video screen. Yeah, and the applications could be plenty. And what is this fabric that we're using? You might be knowing this company already, which is called Quadrat. Quadrat is a soft cell manufacturer. And these panels have not only have light emitting properties, but also sound absorption properties. These are acoustic panels, and these acoustic panels can absorb sound to a level of up to 70%. Yeah, so that the space becomes echo-free, noise-free, and reverberation-free. Yeah, so these are some of the things that you can certainly deploy in order to get the benefit of acoustics as well, apart from very beautiful lighting effects. Yeah. So what we promise is soft content, meaning that very soft videos can be played onto the screen. Soft sound, meaning that you can also feel that in the atmosphere, all the sound which is like disturbing sounds are all absorbed by this panel, and hence it becomes a soft sound atmosphere. And a soft touch and feel atmosphere, meaning that the entire space becomes completely mellowed down. It's not a harsh element, it's a very soft and subtle element. Yeah. So by using a normal LED screen, you make it a hard feel. Yeah. By using a Quadrat soft cell, you are actually mellowing down the particular space, so the space becomes absolutely visually pleasing. Yeah. So now, where can this be deployed? It can be deployed as a reception backdrop, and you can run biophilic effects. We are talking about biophilia at the beginning of this presentation. So biophilic effects is like bringing a video of a natural phenomenon and uploading it in these panels. Yeah. And you can, the people who are using the space feel like as though they're connecting with nature quite often, and hence they feel not so tired, they feel so engaged and energetic within the particular space. Imagine that a huge ceiling or a huge wall in front of you where there's a group of birds flying, or like, it goes through a scene of ocean or underwater scenario. And we have a very beautiful project here in Singapore, which is called as the Haidi Love Restaurant. And the entire ceiling, around 400 square meters, is done with this particular panel. And it's a beautiful dining experience for people who go there, where they can see that since it's a seafood restaurant, you'll see a lot of big whales, sharks moving across your head. You can just look up, you'll feel that you are under the water. You get a feel of you're under the water while you're dining food. Yeah. So this is something, these kind of beautiful experiences can be brought in with these kind of luminous textile panels, as we call it. Yeah. So it can be deployed on the wall, it can be deployed on the ceiling, and it gives beautiful effects. In this case, you can see that the client has deployed it behind a reception desk, so that people who are waiting, they don't feel the pain of waiting. Yeah. So they get completely engaged with this particular panel. I myself have deployed quite a lot of these panels in Middle East as well, because I used to work in Middle East in Dubai for 10 years, in hospital atmospheres, talking about hospitality atmospheres like hotels, wherever you have a reception space, you can certainly deploy these panels in order to engage people. At the same time, you can bring in beautiful experiences of dining, using it in retail and food and beverages applications as well. Yeah. So if you want to positively divert somebody, for example, say that there's a concept called positive distraction. It's like a patient who is entering a hospital. When he's entering the hospital, his heartbeat is normal. Yeah. But because of anxiety, the heartbeat basically goes up very, very high. Yeah. So in order to calm the patient down before a diagnosis, you can make this patient to enter a particular room or a space where there's a lot of natural effects that is happening, calming this patient down, and then taking this patient for a proper diagnosis. For that, you can also use these panels. It becomes a video screen. You can run many soft videos in it, soft contents in it, especially for children. If you see that there's an MRI room or a CT scan room within a hospital, you can use these kind of panels onto the wall, which positively distracts the child. The child basically starts to cooperate with the doctor and the staff there. Yeah. So it's not only for hospitals, it can be deployed in any atmospheres, like talking about retail, hospitality, restaurants, talking about offices. You can actually improve the productivity of people within office environments by using this kind of a panel. And it really creates what we call as a wow effect. Yeah, you really feel that wow, it's a very beautiful space. Something happening on the ceiling, something happening to the wall. The walls and the ceiling becomes vibrant and dynamic. Yeah. So we also provide you the software, which you can trigger from your smartphones to upload any video into these panels. So these panels, as you see here, which is completely controllable using your smartphones. In Lighting Application Center in Singapore, we have got this smartphone facility where I have already loaded the software in my smartphone, where I can upload any video and show the contents to my clients and create a very brilliant experience for them. Yeah. So similarly, we also offer for our clients a dashboard and also a content software where they can upload any kind of a video into this particular software, and that basically faithfully reflects onto the panels. Yeah. So many projects we have done around the world for various applications. You can see car showrooms. You can see that an airport where they wanted to entertain passengers, because passengers are waiting there for a very long period of time. They get frustrated, and they start complaining. So in order to ensure that they don't complain, they get engaged, you can have these walls illuminated with these kind of panels. Yeah, restaurants, talking about say entertainment facilities, you can also use these kind of panels. Yeah. And waiting areas, reception areas is a perfect application for these kind of panels. Yeah. Talking about the monochromatic white light, which is emitted by these panels, which are called one space. Again, retail and hospitality applications and also the meeting room applications become a primary methodology of implementing, or application of implementing these panels. Yeah. So going further, I think I have almost come to the last slide. So this is the last slide of my presentation. So I'll just give you a small summary of whatever we have seen today on innovations. One is basically Nature Connect, which contributes towards well-being of people within the spaces. So we saw about the circadian rhythms, which is like cortisol, melatonin hormone, which gets generated in the body. By exposing ourselves to natural sunlight, we get this benefit. But unfortunately, we are an indoor generation. We are not able to get the benefit because we are not getting exposed to natural sunlight. 90% of the time that humans spend in the current part of the world is all indoors, and hence artificial light should mimic like the natural sunlight, and hence this concept called Nature Connect has been brought in. Talking about the second topic, 3D printing, we saw that it's fully bespoke, customizable for architects. So feel free to send us the hand sketches, what you want to achieve in your projects. We can certainly make the product for you, which the way that you have designed it. And it has got a big sustainability story behind it because it's fully recyclable. And the carbon footprint reduction can be up to 75% on production and manufacturing and transportation. And talking about UVC, UVC is a technology that can be deployed in spaces where there's a large population of people using a smaller space. So the bacteria, viruses, fungus can be irradiated within a few seconds. Talking about visual comfort, we can use certainly large luminous surfaces in order to avoid glare and make people more comfortable and spend more time in retail atmospheres so that the shopping experience can be on a different level. And talking about luminous textile panels, acoustic panels with light emitting, backlight emitting LEDs. And these panels can bring in a concept called biophilia, again improving what we call as the health and well-being and productivity of people within the space. Yeah. So I stop here. I hope my presentation was interesting and informative. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vijay, for a very nice presentation today. It was very, very inspirative, product and solution, which is you presented. So before we are moving to the next presenter, I would like to share to all of you that we are going to have the lucky draw that's going to be taken out later at the end of the session. So as already been dropped in the chat box that you have to scan this QR code in order for you to be able to join with our lucky draw. So we just post just few minutes for all of you to scan this QR code and then fill up the form in order for you to be able to join with our lucky draw. Okay, so you need your names, the details. So then I can put your names into our lucky draw letter.
MJ, what's the price for the lucky draw, MJ?
Oh, the prize lucky draw is this one. So our craft or UVC products, Philips UVC disinfection mini box. We have 3 we're going to have 3 lucky winners. So this UVC mini box is going to be disinfect the small objects or small personal objects like makeup or
Wow.
keys, for example, some tools. So it's very easy for you, and also very easy and also easy to mobile to go.
It's
from
pink
one
in
person to
color.
the
It should be for girls, can?
Yes. Also for guys as well, for you to disinfect your keys, for
Yeah.
example, wallet, for instance. Okay.
Thank you.
So please make sure that all of you scan the QR code, this QR code, to be able to join with this lucky draw. All right. So the winners, when we find the winner letter, and then we are going to send this product or lucky draw is going to be to your place, either to your office or to home. Please feel free to drop us your details of the address of the delivery. All right, so I hope everyone's already scanned this QR code and fill up the form. So I'm going to move to the next presenter. So I'm going to invite Mr. Gaurav to start his presentation. Gaurav, pass it to you.
Perfect. Thank you, MJ. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us this morning. And I'm sure you're all energized with the wonderful sharing that Vijay went through. So he's amazing. So a little bit about me and quick time check also, and then I'll kickstart. So my name is Gautam. I'm the commercial leader for ASEAN, primarily focusing on our connected IoT systems within Signify, and been with the organization for about 5 years. And I engage with everybody involved in the built environment across the ASEAN region, focusing and driving solutions around sustainability and IoT and connected, and how lighting can serve as a backbone for a lot of data and analytics. So I have, from MJ, I have about 20 minutes that you shared with me. So I will go through a quick deck. I think we'll have Q&A at about 11:15. So if you have any questions, keep them. You can type them in, or we can have a open Q&A. And I think we have some folks joining us on a live stream as well. So guys, type in your questions. We'll keep track and we'll answer everything. Okay, so let me share my slides, and maybe someone from the panel, if you can confirm to me that the deck is visible, I can move on then. MJ?
Yes, it's visible. Yep.
Perfect. So guys, I am Vijay explained to you the wonderful capabilities of light and how it can impact pretty much every aspect of our life, from our body to how we perform to how we function, how productive we are. So now I'm going to take that conversation a step further, where I'm going to say, okay, can we use the ubiquitous light source, which is artificial light in our built environment, and use it to do a bit more than what it just does, which is provide illumination, right? So and that's where the entire IoT story comes in, because you have the thing which is the light source, which is the artificial light source, and how can we put in intelligence and make it basically an Internet of Things portion. So before we dive in, I just want to show you a couple of data points. So this was a study which was done in 2021, and it's a very interesting study. It was it is a study which is focused around bringing people back to work and also deploying IoT across the board. So a few things came up, right? So what are the elements where an owner of a building or a space would actually deploy smart building technologies? So of course you see that over a period of time you save more costs. You of course want to improve health and safety. You want to give a better well-being to your and to work to your employees. Energy costs, of course, if you have better technology, you can have better energy saving. And then of course insights, data and analytics, and occupant comfort and well-being. So these are some of the factors why the top building developers and occupiers are actually deploying IoT technologies. These are the questions, these are the answers that they actually demand, actually want. So what are the top technologies where this is being deployed? There's smart heating, which is because it's very Europe-centric. So you see smart heating, then smart lighting, access control, voice assistance, which is also, to nobody's surprise, these are also the key technologies which are also driving the IoT movement in our homes as well. So it's nothing that is out of the ordinary. Then, then if you look at your IoT analytics, what is being tracked? So there's data on air quality, on health and well-being of the devices in field, and of course energy monitoring and usage. So these are some of the key trends as to how an IoT deployment within smart building, within a building is happening as of today. And these are, again, they may seem as very simplistic, but I think the once you move through the deck, you'll also realize that these data points can actually help us build a very nice foundation across the board, and how lighting can help collect all this information. Then amongst these companies, 76% have increased IoT investment plans in 2021. Again, some of them are considering MFPs and printers as the part of the IoT landscape, and most of them, or at least more than half, are concerned with IoT data security. So I think this is a very telling view of what's happening in terms of intelligence and connected in the built environment, right? So now, why are people, why are organizations and buildings and owners and developers trying to deploy IoT trends? So I think from an office standpoint, the story is very telling, and that's where we come to our next slide. So when we look at where the investment actually goes, we start to realize that a very small portion of it is actually being spent on energy, and a large portion of it is being spent on employees. So any and every technology deployment in a building is primarily focused around two aspects. One is sustainability, and that is what Vijay spoke to you about earlier, and the other one is health and well-being. And these are the two key primary elements that we want to tackle. We want to make sure that we work towards the climate change movement, and as a part of it, we're able to give our employees a better workplace to a better space to work. And this is across the board, right? Because once you will start to realize how technology plays a part in the built environment, it's any built environment. So it's not just an office; it's also a warehouse, a manufacturing facility, a hotel for that matter, or retail establishment. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are an organization that's sustainable, and we are an organization that takes care of the biggest asset pool, which is our employees. So from the sustainability standpoint, some numbers here just to give you a view. I'll quickly skim through them. So as of today, about more than one third of the global carbon emissions are produced by buildings. And about 75% of today's buildings are actually energy inefficient. And about 80% of them will still be around in 2050. So it's a massive number. We don't realize it, but it's a massive number that the built environment contributes to in terms of the carbon footprint. And of course, the global goal is that all buildings must be net zero by 2050, which a lot of organizations are working towards as of now, but then it is still a goal which is a bit in the future. When you switch to LED, you start to realize that you can save about 80% on your lighting and lighting related energy consumption. And then I'll also show you a little bit later how we can also impact other systems and other applications to not only save this 80%, but also start to drive multiple other use cases across the board. Okay. And when we talk about employee well-being, there are 4 key elements which are defined as a part of healthier and greener buildings. So these are buildings where you're sustainable and you also have employee well-being being taken care of. So again, indoor air quality and ventilation is one aspect where we need to make sure that we track the key elements related to indoor air quality and have the right ventilation so as to make sure that the space, I mean, it's a workplace, not a jail for most people. Thermal comfort, and this is, I think, where one of the bigger challenges comes in for the building owners and operators today, that we have buildings which are occupied from a range of 10% to 90% on different days in a week. And the day it's between 10 and 50, everybody's freezing in the office. And once you start to have 50% occupancy, you start to then have people get to more comfortable levels in terms of their thermal comfort. So this thermal comfort, I think, and is one of the least tracked metric, because if I usually have an audience of people which can range from say a low double digit to multiple hundreds of people, I will always get a resounding yes when I ask them, do you have a space in your office where you feel too cold? This is a global problem which nobody is solving. So we are actually spending money on the HVAC system to make our employees uncomfortable and less productive. So I think this is a big challenge which needs to be linked to not just the static characteristics of what is the air temperature, what is the return air temperature, versus to a more dynamic aspect of what is the occupancy in the space, what is the current temperature level, where should I move it, when am I expecting next occupancy, and all of that stuff, right? Daylight and lighting, of course, Vijay has spoken a lot about this, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, where you actually saw that how daylight and lighting can have visible impact on your well-being, and then eventually is noise and acoustics, which of course talks about that do you have an environment which allows you to focus and work better and be more efficient across the board. So what you will see moving forward is that as lighting is extremely ubiquitous across the board, we can actually help impact every aspect of this entire 4 parameters that are there associated with greener buildings, right? So we of course want to focus around optimizing operations and space management, enhancing performance, and then making sure increasing employee engagement and well-being. So lighting can have a 2-pronged impact across the board. One is towards the right illumination and the right type of light, and the second is on temperature monitoring, on noise monitoring, on air quality, and also collecting a lot of data and analytics across the board. So how do we do it? So we have 8 key pillars of our solution offering, and each of these pillars actually impacts either the well-being or the sustainability movement across the board. So the first pillar, of course, is lighting management. Since we are a lighting company, that's one thing we must know how to do. So we manage the lighting aspect pretty well. So when we talk about Internet of Things, this is the things portion. We've been doing the things portion for over 100 years, and now we've connected the capability of internet over the past few decades, and that's where we're driving the Internet of Things movement extremely smartly out there. So the first aspect is around lighting management, which is giving the right experience to the user or the occupier of that space. Second aspect is around lighting asset management, which is the health and well-being of the infrastructure that we have deployed in field. And The next one is around energy optimization. And this is where I'll spend a bit of time because this is where the sustainability story sort of comes to the fore. So let's assume we have an office space today, or we have a warehousing space today, or we have a manufacturing space, any application, it doesn't matter, right? How we are trained to think and function is we see employee working hours as static time zones to give access to facilities to them. So you will see that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., let's say in an office, the lights will turn on to 100% and they will stay at 100% throughout the day, irrespective of the number of people within the space. And this entire solution that I'm going to present will give you a slightly change in thinking of how spaces will be managed in the future. So you have access to light across the board. Now I'm sitting at my home right now. I'm in this room. When I finish this call in about 30 minutes or so, I'm going to leave this room, switch off the AC, switch off the lights, switch off the fan, and leave this room and remove all energy consumption related devices because I'm not present here. But in an office space, that doesn't happen. We keep them on at 100% because somebody decided 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. lights have to be on. Now, first thing people do is they switch to LED, which is a great thing to do. Because when you have a space which is driven by LED, you're already having a massive impact. And what happens in most cases is we would see people still operating within that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. paradigm, but in LED, which is a great win. But I think where we want to move as a world to drive the sustainability agenda is to move towards an on-demand infrastructure, where the energy consumption graph would look something like this. And it would look different every day. It would be a dynamic graph which would depend on occupancy of the day. And it is applicable to each and every built environment. And this is where we start to see things differently and say, okay, listen, I'm providing illumination, I'm providing a service which is not on demand. So I'm actually contributing to promoting wastage in the built environment. I'm contributing to that 36% of carbon emissions that are there. And I think as people who have some sort of decision making in how buildings are created and built environments are done, I think we need to take this position where we say, okay, we will remove wastage by design. We will remove wastage in every aspect by design. And how we actually manage to achieve this is because the way our solution is architected, it's a truly digital solution where we have sensors embedded inside the light fixtures. So we can collect a lot of data and analytics and also take decisions based on how the actual space and the actual people in that space are moving. So you always have this additional aspect of energy consumption which comes your way. And let's say if you're in office, you can also get the same graph for your HVAC system. Because you can share now this occupancy data, we can share this occupancy data with the HVAC system and also leverage all the savings that can come from there without impacting employee comfort and productivity. Because when they need access to a capability, they will have it. They will not be frozen every day of the week, and they will not be put on a skewer and heated every day of the week in certain spaces in the office. They will get access to facilities and capabilities at the right time in the amount that they need them. Okay, so that's the biggest paradigm shift that's happening in the built environment, where we are not seeing. We will see sensors take the center stage in terms of data collection, and there will be a lot of collaboration between organizations where the data will be shared and it will be improved on with additional use cases. And that's where I think we are going to see much smarter and much leaner and much more sustainable organizations at the end of the day. So, and of course, lighting, because it's ubiquitous, it is the most cost-effective way to collect that data, collect that information, to embed that sensor, and then leverage. Because we have a power source which is available to us every meter in the ceiling. Every 1 meter or less than that, we have a power source which is available to the lighting infrastructure. And we want to use that to collect more and more data, to bring more granularity, to build more use cases, and eventually truly deliver a building that's intelligent and smart, and not just a few sensors here and there and then call it a smart setup. So then we also have capabilities around scene management, space management. So space management analytics is actually going to be the next very interesting big feature that comes in terms of not only a post and after the fact analytics. That means, oh, I want to see how people behaved in my space yesterday. Versus it will be, I want to design a new space. I want to architect a new building, and I want to know how people in this industry or how people in this specific organization for whom I'm building this, I'm creating this new building, move within the space. What are their characteristics? Are they collaborative in nature, or are they more remote in nature in terms of how they work? So all those analytics are going to define how buildings are not only used, but also created from ground up. And that's the data and analytics that lighting as a backbone can very easily provide, because we are everywhere across the board. Indoor navigation was another one, bioadaptive lighting, Vijay has touched upon it. And then environmental monitoring is, of course, all those additional sensors which come as a part of the lighting backbones, whether that's temperature, humidity, noise, occupancy, daylight harvesting, and also all the air quality sensing capabilities. So that encapsulates basically our Interact enterprise story pretty much out here. And keeping in mind the time, I think I will more or less sort of conclude my session here. Again, okay. Yeah, so I'm open to answering any questions, guys. And again, this is just the beginning of this conversation, so we can, of course, happy to connect outside of the session to also answer any questions. Over to you, MJ.
Thank you, Gaurav. So yeah, Vijay, maybe you also switch on your video as well. So we're going to have a Q&A session. Let's have a few minutes to have the Q&A sessions before we are taking the lucky draw. So let us now check in the chat box as well as in the Facebook live streaming if there's any questions. Okay, yeah, I received the first questions here. This is for Vijay. So the first question is asking about on the UVC products. Is it possible to measure the effectiveness of the disinfection itself? Imagine, let's say, in the HU units or maybe in the HVAC system in the building.
Okay. So to answer that question, I think the dosage has already been defined by various bodies around the world. Yeah. So including we're talking about ASHRAE. ASHRAE is a very reputed air conditioning norm creator in the world on indoor air quality. They have already set a particular dosage which is in joules per meter square, which is 15 joules per meter square, or 1,500 microjoules per centimeter square. Yeah, you can call it anyway. So these two has already been set as 15 joules per meter square. Now we have to work back in order to achieve what we call as the air change per hour. Yeah. So the air change per hour, that's a formula for converting what we call as watts per meter square, which is called irradiance, towards what we call as EACH, equivalent air change per hour. Yeah. So that is certainly be available. So what we can do is, like, if you can send us your layouts, our team called Lighting Applications team is fully equipped to support you with these calculations. They will to give you two outputs. One is that we simulate the space on what is the amount of irradiance that you're achieving within the space. Is it good enough to achieve the dosage of SARS-CoV-2 or dosage of any particular pathogen like tuberculosis spreading virus? Those things can be done. And in the process, we also tell you what is the equivalent air change per hour we can achieve. So those things are certainly possible to prove effective. Apart from that, we also have a certification of the product itself being tested against SARS-CoV-2 in a similar environment. Yeah, it could be an office environment, or it could be like an environment like a retail environment. So we have those certifications also. So with that also we can prove that yes, it's been extremely effective against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Vijay. We also have a follow-up questions here related to UVC. So does UVC also can help in eliminating the odors? And also, will it be helpful in the commercial kitchens, for example?
Yeah, so there are different products of UVC, or we can call as UV radiation, which can be used for eliminating odors. Yeah. Apart from the disinfection abilities of UVC, we can also use what we call as UVC with plus titanium oxide. Yeah. So there's a titanium oxide coating on top of the UVC lamp itself, or it could be a separate titanium oxide membrane. So the UVC radiations, while it falls on the titanium oxide, produces what we call as active or reactive oxygen. So these oxygens are able, when it gets emitted out of these devices, they nullify or neutralize odor. Yeah. So odor is also possible to get eliminated along with the virus. Yeah. But more important to eliminate the virus actually. Yeah.
That's very good solutions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have also questions in the Facebook Live chat here. So somebody is asking related to the 3D printing luminaires, is there any like certain MOQ or maybe any information required to have this kind of solutions?
So if it is going to be a standard product, meaning that if you're not going to design it from the scratch, yeah. So we have standard light products which are there in our websites, which also look aesthetically appealing, and we have used designers to design those products. Yeah. For those products, there is no MOQ. So even like if it is a single number, we can certainly honor that. But when it's going to be kind of a bespoke design that is coming fully apart from what standard products we have, there is a minimum ordering quantity of almost like 100 numbers. Yeah.
I see. Thanks. Oh yeah. For the rest of the audience here that is joining with the Zoom, if you have any questions, you can also unmute yourself and you can also speak up about your questions and directly ask to our speakers. All right, so I also have a question here with Gautam. So Gautam, in terms of the IoT itself, right? So for let's say imagine them in the buildings. So how is the lighting is playing a part as a part of the IoT environment? Maybe you could also like elaborate more for this one.
Okay, so okay. So it's a key question here, right? So what happens in terms of a smart building, right? And what you want to achieve is you want to achieve granularity of data. You want to know as much as possible, but then what happens in most organizations and most buildings is that when they're being constructed or when they're being created, we start to realize that the cost of deploying extensive sensor network is so prohibitive that we start to taper down our expectations and we start to taper down what we want to achieve eventually. And that is where we also see a lot of IoT projects start to fail as well, right? So what lighting does is it kills two birds with one stone, right? So we have an illumination task which is already being performed, and we are as Signify a lighting company, so we've been in the market for over a century now, and then we also start to see that okay, we have this function of illumination, can we enhance it by giving that granular network of sensors that can then start to collect data eventually? And I think that's where a new controls philosophy comes into being. That's where a new way of thinking comes into being, because now you have what I may loosely call as a big data sort of an element that you can then eventually mine, analyze, and also take decisions on. I personally feel that buildings of the future, and we do see some of them already around, will have most of the decisions automated eventually in their functioning. So it will be self-learning based on the data that it gets, and have quite a bit of decisions which are automated, and some of them could also be mission critical. So whether that's even looking at CCTV and raising the right alarms based on intrusion, or whether that's sending the lift to the top floor when a helicopter is coming in of a hospital at the let's say the helipad, and making sure that the evacuating patient is being taken care of, getting the operating theater ready, and all of that. So a lot of these decisions are going to be made in our buildings, which will be automated, and then we will need a nice set of sensor network. And I think lighting is the most cost-effective way of getting that dense sensor network in the space. I hope I answer your question. I am muted.
Sorry. Yes, Gaurav. Thanks for the explanation. We are going to take the, I think if there's no more questions, maybe we can close the Q&A sessions. So because of the time now, maybe we can proceed with the lucky draw. So let me remind you once again, before we take the lucky draw, we're going to take 3 winners. So for those people that haven't scanned the QR code earlier, I would like to have everyone also make sure that everyone's scan your QR code. Maybe let me flash again the QR code before we take the winners. Because I saw that there is only about 20 something of participants that scan the QR code. Sorry. Let me just take a pause for a while before we take the winners. So I would like to have everyone to scan this QR code and get a chance to win the lucky draw. So we have 3 units of UVC disinfection box from Philips to be as a giveaway for the 3 winners. So let me just take a pause for a few seconds again in order for you to scan this QR code and then fill up the form. Okay. Let me see whether there is any improvement in terms of the number. All right, so I think let me take the lucky draw now. Give me a few seconds. Yeah, so this is the lucky draw. We are going to take the 3 winners of this lucky draw of Philips UVC disinfection product. Let me get the first winner first. Are you ready? Architect Azlina, are you also ready? Okay, so let me take the first winner first, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Okay, congratulations to Hoktan Architects for this, the first winner. Okay. The name. And then the second winner is from L. Thai Architect. And the last one is Zalina Architect.
Yes, MJ.
Yeah. So yeah, we have 3 winners here for the lucky draw. So for those, I'm going to reach you separately. I have all the contacts. So for the delivery of the lucky draw for that. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. We are at the end of the session now, and I'm going to drop some contacts here for those people that you would like to have more sessions or maybe any presentation from Signify. Please feel free to reach the contacts in the chat box. And then we hope that we are going to have the engagement in the future. And then thank you again. I would like to say thank you again for PAM Northern Regions Secretariat and the team as well to have this successful webinar, as well as to Architect Zalina for her opening speech in the earlier. So again, thank you so much. Have a good weekend, everyone. And then we hope that to see you again in the next coming event. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.